Hi, hello, good morning. We are in my bedroom today because that's where the air conditioning is, and the rest of my apartment is prohibitively hot and humid. And I did just get a dehumidifier, but it has to sit upright for 24 hours before I can start running it. So it's still like a jungle in there, and I can't do it. So we're in my bedroom today, and since it's Pride Month, I thought I'd give a pass or fail to every LGBTQ book I have read. And mind you, I only discovered that these existed in like 2024. So it's not that many books, but it's enough. It's enough. We've got enough content. Um, so to dive right in, I've got my notes here. And before we begin, I would like to note that I use the term queer a lot. That's a term I like. That's a term that feels really affirming to me, so I use it. But I'm aware that not everyone likes that term because it has been used as a derogatory for the community in the past. But I do use the word queer here, so if that is a big turnoff for you, thank you, goodbye. And if you're still here, let's dive in. So I'm going to go chronologically from the first LGBTQ books I read to the latest. And I actually have no idea how I was alerted to the fact that queer romances existed. I was reading hetero romances for a long time, and I remember that the first time I discovered, like, oh, you can get you can get romances about like two women. That was so exciting to me. And the first books that I read that were WLW were the Bright Falls series by Ashley Herring Blake. So this is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. And I loved these books so much. Astrid Parker was my favorite of the three. It follows Astrid, who is recently reconciled with her formerly estranged stepsister Delilah, and she's always believed that she is straight. She believes that she's like the token straight person in their friend group, until she meets this carpenter named Jordan. And then she begins to question everything. And Jordan says to her, I don't want to be your experiment. And Astrid does the self reflection and realizes that no, she's pretty damn bad for this woman, and it's not just a by curiosity, if I'll put it that way. I really like this book because not only do I really like Astrid as character, I also like that it's about a woman who is older, who is having her queer awakening because like I didn't grow up knowing any gay people. I was like barely even aware gay people existed. So then when I went away to university and I was around more queer people, I thought like, oh, well that couldn't be me because if I were gay, I would know. So I really like this book because it was about a woman who was uh, who didn't grow up knowing that she was always queer. And anyway, I've heard very mixed things about this series from other people. So I don't know if they're actually good books or if I was just giddy off the fact that I had discovered lesbian romance. But this series gets a pass. After this, I read Stars Collide by Rachel Lacey. It's about an aging pop star and a rising pop star who end up collaborating and falling in love. I think this was like still my honeymoon phase, if I'm gonna call it that, with WLW romance because I rated it 4 stars, but I don't remember it being 4 star worthy, like good. I mean, I do remember enjoying it and it was fun, but like today I probably rate it like a 3 star. But I also keep in mind my rating system, I think I've mentioned before, has shifted quite a bit. And I am much stingier with my ratings now. So this is probably a 3 star um, by my rating system now. But there is an age gap. If I remember, it's about 10 years, and that's typically an immediate turnoff for me. And this was not really an exception. It just gave me the ick. I remember being like, I really want to like this and like feeling disappointed, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. So fail. The next book I read was Some Girls Do by Jennifer Dugan. This is another coming out story. It's about these two high school girls, and one of them is still in the closet. Um, I also had a good time with this one and rated it 4 stars, but I remember being very irritated with large sections of this book, with the way the characters were behaving, with the scenarios that they were in. I just didn't want to admit it because I thought it had to be like good enough that these books even existed, honestly. Like I thought it was a privilege to read a book that had a queer romance. And I know that sounds super weird, but I don't know. I felt like I had to like it because it was like an honor that I even like was getting a queer romance. But the lack of communication or the miscommunication was a big part of what annoyed me about this book. Ruby and Morgan are just not ever on the same wavelength, and I kind of hoped for them to break up the entire time. So this is not a 4 star read. I rated it 4 stars at the time. But that's like a 2. If you're hoping they break up, that's a 2. Um, so I'm gonna fail this one. Okay, now the honeymoon phase is starting to wear off because we get Mistakes Were Made by Meryl Wilsner, and I gave this 3 stars even at the time. It's an age gap romance, and like, yes, I like older women too, but like best friend's mom, I I can't I can't quite get behind it. It feels super awkward to me as much as like the author tried to make it not awkward. It felt so awkward. Um Obviously a fail. Not for me. The next book is Afterlove by Tanya Byrne, and this is about a girl who becomes a reaper after her death, but she is determined that she's going to see the girl she loves one last time. I honestly don't remember a lot about this book. I thought the premise was really interesting, but wasn't super enthralled by the execution, so I rated it 3 stars. I guess like I just found it kind of overwhelming, or sorry, underwhelming. I'm on the fence because again, I like the premise, and it was cute. I just, I don't know. I'm gonna say a tentative pass. Let's tentatively pass that one. Okay, next is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and oh my god, I love this book. I love this book so much. 5 stars, instant 5 stars, pass, pass, pass all day. You should go read it. I am not a huge Taylor Jenkins Reid fan overall. Like I find her books quite hit or miss, but this is a hit for me. Absolutely. This and Daisy Jones and the Six. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is just so emotional, and I love found family. I love blended families, and this has like both. I definitely rate this book 5 stars. And I know some people have mixed feelings about the queer representation in this, but I remember really, really loving it. So, pass. Late Bloomer by Maisie Eddings. This is another book I just found a little underwhelming. It was adorable. And I think I mentioned in a previous video that I am a sucker for florists and books. I don't know why. It's just this like little micro trope. It's not even a trope. It's not even a micro trope. It's just a thing that very occasionally happens. But I'm a sucker for florists and books, and this is about two women who own a flower farm. So it's perfect. The setting is perfect. But I think my main thing was not feeling the spark between them, although like I said, it was really cute. I give it 3 stars, and I'll give it a pass, because it's a pretty light, fun sapphic romance, and it's not too long. Next, I started reading the Montague siblings trilogy. So this is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, and The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks. The first one follows Monty and his friend Percy on their tour of Europe before they get sent away to their respective schools. And obviously the tour goes awry. It's a super, super fun book, and I would recommend it. However, the second and third books, not so good. The second book just has like some weird problematic race stuff, and I did really like it, but I kept thinking about like the weird problematic race stuff. And then the third book, like he was just plain annoying. The main character was so annoying. Um, and the fact he had like crippling social anxiety didn't make me more empathetic for him because the way it was written was just so annoying. And definitely fail to the second two books, but you should read the first one and then you should stop. Loverbirds by Leon Egan is a YA novel that gets 4 stars, which again is a bit high if I match it up against my recollection of the book. As you can tell, my ratings are pretty all over the place at this point. I think they've become more consistent over time, but I still go off a lot on vibes, so sometimes there are inconsistencies. I digress. These girls who start as rivals but end up as lovers, they have major communication and compatibility issues, in my opinion. My review from the time reads that they still didn't convince me that they belong together in the end, but it was still cute. I think now that in a romance where you don't think they should end up together and it's obviously meant to be a happily ever after, that book hasn't done its job. So nowadays, I'd probably rate this more like a 2 or 2.5. Probably a 2.5 because I don't remember actively disliking the book. I just remember being like exasperated and exhausted by the fact they obviously didn't belong together. Um, so fail for this one. Haley Cass's The Snowball Effect. I really liked this one. It's about two roommates who start as rivals, start hating each other, and end up as lovers. There's no third act breakup, which is great in my books, although around the 70% mark, it starts to feel like a slog. It's really, really long. However, I rated it 4 stars. I bumped it up like a full star just because there was no third act breakup, and I liked that so much because I was just like so sick of the third act breakup at this point. I would like to read more of this author. I think her books are on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm gonna do that. I had canceled my KU subscription, but then I reinstated it because there are just so many books I want to read that are on Kindle Unlimited, and I was like, damn it, it does seem worth it. So I have KU again, but I think Haley Cass is on there, so I'm gonna read that. And this one gets a pass from me. Another Ashley Herring Blake, her Christmas book, Make the Season Bright. Not gonna lie, the more I thought about this book, the more I hated it. It was basically like gaslighting and communication issues, the musical, because they're musicians. I think second chance romance isn't a bad structure or like a bad premise, but I think it has to be done right. I think it has to be done really well. I think it has to be done carefully. And this one was just not it. Absolutely fail. Next is Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur. I rated this one 3 stars because, again, I don't see them as a couple. I think, they make great friends, but I just don't see the romance. I don't see the spark. I also found the ending super abrupt. Like, I was reading it and then it just ended. It just ended. It's one of those books. Maybe it was maybe it was making space for the next book in the series, but it was really abrupt. It was super abrupt ending. What I said pretty much covers what my review from the time says. I'm gonna fail this one, especially because, again, a romance with an HEA that doesn't actually convince me the two should be together has not done its job in my books. Okay, next I started reading the Clover Lake series, also from Ashley Herring Blake. Can you tell that I will read anything by this author? I'm like chasing the high that the Bright Falls series gave me, although I don't know if it's replicable because, again, I think I might have just been too excited that queer romances existed. So Dream on Ramona Riley sucked, honestly. It's about this movie star named Dylan who, as a girl, went to this small town on vacation and she met this other girl, Ramona. and they kiss, and then years later they're all grown up. Dylan is a big movie star. She comes back to the small town. Ramona's still living there. They have a romance, and this book was just like miscommunication is us. It was basically constant, and I wanted to scream, and I gave it 3 stars, but I don't remember enjoying it at all. So that one gets a fail. However, the second one, Get Over It, April Evans, was actually not so bad, and I did really enjoy it once I got over the fact that it's the premise is these two women who end up bonding because they have a shared ex who treated them like shit. Like that's the premise, and I don't know how I feel about that as a concept. I mean, it was executed pretty well. So I did really enjoy it, but it took me a moment. It took me a moment to get over that. Um, I gave it 3.5 stars, and I would tentatively recommend it. Yes. So, um, fail for Dream on Ramona Riley, but pass for Get Over It, April Evans, and then the third one comes out in September. So we're gonna cross our fingers. This video is super long, so I'm going to try to breeze through the last few. The Princess Match by Claire Lydon, Lydon, I'm not sure. I'm so sorry. It's a romance between a princess and a star soccer player, or football as they call it. My review reports that this book was solidly okay. I rated it 3 stars and honestly can't remember a single thing about it, so fail. And then She Kissed Me by Harper Bliss. I DNF'd and then came back to again, which I wish I hadn't because I found it so mediocre. And not gonna lie, there was so much spice. There was way too much spice. It felt like the spice was trying to do the heavy lifting. Like instead of the plot, there was spice. And those books aren't necessarily bad. Like I know some people like the like more smut than plot thing, but this like felt like it felt like there was trying to be a plot, and it just wasn't succeeding. So it was being covered up with excess spice. Anyway, so 2.5 stars and a fail for this one, obviously. Girls, Girls, Girls by Shoshana Fun Blackensee was an easy 5 stars. It's a literary fiction about these two girls, Hannah and Sam, who leave home to make a name for themselves, to make a not a name for themselves, to make a life for themselves. And I didn't want it to end. It was so beautiful. The writing was so smooth. It made me laugh. It made me cry, and it was also like it's a coming of age, but it wasn't what I expected out of a coming of age in a good way. Um, so yeah, pass. I started reading more MLM books at this time, which I don't usually do because I don't like men. But I read Call It Fet by Lowry Charles. It's a quick MLM romance. And I had fun with this. I rated it 3.5 stars. It has a lot of things I don't typically like children, and also long will they, won't they type plots. But Lowry Charles is a small indie author, and I do think that it was a good book, and I do think you should go support indie authors. So I'm going to pass this one. Snowy Skies and Puppy Eyes by Faye Quinn is about Joe, who moves to this small town where he eventually begins a romance with Jason, who is secretly a millionaire. And I thought this was so cute. It was actually so cute. The title is cheesy as anything, but the book was actually really cute. There's also no third act breakup in this one either, and it's a really quick one to get through. So pass. Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory. Guillory? I'm not sure again. I'm so sorry. It's basically about two women who embark on just that, flirting lessons. Avery wants to loosen up and become more fun, and Taylor is the town flirt, and she basically starts teaching Avery everything she knows about being fun and carefree and spontaneous. And over the process, they fall in love. I heard great things about this book, but it wasn't for me. Again, I just felt like I see them as friends. They're great friends, but I don't see the romance. Um, I just felt like I wasn't invested in them actually getting together, although I did find the process of like them actually, going on these dates, quite enjoyable to read about. Because like they were friends, they were doing something fun. It was fun to see what like Taylor would come up with as an adventure, to try and get Avery out of her shell. It was really fun. I just wasn't invested in them as a couple. That being said, again, it was really fun. So I think I'm going to give it a pass. At some point around this time, I started reading the Tomes and Tea series by Rebecca Thorne. They're about a Queen's Guard and a mage who run away, they defect, and they go start a new life together in this small town. They open a tea shop. Hello. You want to say hi? I love these books so much. Oh my god, they're so fun. 10 out of 10 cozy fantasy. I'm about halfway through the third one now. The first is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. The second is A Pirate's Life for Tea. And the third is See You at the Altar. And I believe there's another one, if not more. So good. It's so good. Um, Immediate pass. Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. If you saw, I think it was my May wrap up, you know that I'm not a Heated Rivalry person. I don't buy into the hype at all. Oh my god, it's so spicy. I still can't get over how spicy it was. And like, as someone who's ace and not attracted to men, not for me. Not for me. I know, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And the TV show is Canadian. And I do love that people love it. But it's not for me. Fail. Okay, finally, we've reached the end. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, is my most recently read queer book. This is another MLM book, but it's primarily a coming of age story, which I really liked. I devoured it in a couple days on audiobook from the library. It was so sweet, and the ending was perfect to me. It's about Alex, who's the son of the first female president, and Henry, the heir to the British throne. Alex has his bisexual awakening through his relationship with Henry, and I loved how supportive his family was. Like, his mother, despite the wrench it throws into the optics of her reelection campaign, is so supportive. And I love that he has this, not just like his family, but his chosen family again, of people who will rally around him and support him and go to bat for him. And Henry, not as much, but his mother does turn up. His mother does show up ready to fight. And I just really liked it. I thought it was so sweet. There's no third act breakup in this one either, although they are forced to spend some time apart once everything hits the fan. I think it's a TV show or a movie as well, because just because I've seen like the like only on Netflix. I don't know if that's what it actually says, but you know, those like movie covers, those covers that are obviously from like a live action thing. Well, I definitely would like to see that. And this one gets a pass. So that is it for every queer book I've read since 2024. Or at least most of them. I think I hit most of them. I was like scrolling through my Goodreads, which I went back on Goodreads for this, because let me know if Storygraph has a function where you can just see all the books that you've like ever read without having to scroll through your reading journal, which tells you like, started this book, didn't finish, started this book, finished it this time. Like, it doesn't just give you the list of books you've read, it gives you all the details about when you started it, if you DNF'd, if you came back to it, etc. And it doesn't immediately show you your review. You have to click on it, and then you have to it's like gone back to the top of the page, so you have to scroll to like find the next one. So I went back on Goodreads for this, because it's just easy to see. It's easy to see what you've read. So I think I hit most of them. That's pretty much it. I wish you all a happy Pride. Bye.